And a boy who is assigned an undesirable profession as a material evaluator is treated poorly by his team. One day, he stumbles upon a hidden S-rank tree in a cave, and his life begins to change after that encounter. The anime episode begins with the group inside a Dimas dungeon as they hunt massive monsters. Zoid attempts to strike down a colossal beast but fails. His companion Jolene casts a fireball spell to assist him. Thanks to her magic, they manage to slay the monster. Afterward, Zoid boasts about his role in the fight, but Jolene reminds him that it was her magic that sealed the victory. Zoid then speaks with a young man named Ayan, who is assigned the role of a cleaner and servant for the team. They treat him poorly, almost like a slave. Ayan is seen carrying numerous heavy bags on his shoulders, and he collapses under their weight. Zoid yells at him, calling him useless. Jolene intervenes, asking Zoid to show some compassion since Ayan doesn't belong to the upper class like them. Instead, he is one of the lowly commoners. Zoid orders Ayan to evaluate their loot. As Ayan complies, he talks to himself about his past. He explains that his job as an appraiser was assigned to him as a commoner. In their society, people are born into roles that are nearly impossible to change. These roles are divided into 3 categories. 1. The rare class, a small group of talented individuals, including wealthy merchants and military strategists. 2. The upper commoners, people like Zoid and Jolene, consisting of skilled fighters, mages, and others capable of combat. 3. The lower commoners, farmers, appraisers, and others deemed unfit for battle. Jobs are typically inherited, so children often follow their parents' paths. However, since Ayan lost his parents at a young age, he took the alternative path available to commoners, becoming an adventurer. His lifelong dream of becoming wealthy remains unfulfilled. Ayan focuses on appraising a giant rat's corpse and removes its innards. Zoid grows angry at the delay, but Ayan explains that rigor mortis has begun to set in. He asks for help in opening the creature's mouth, but the others refuse, claiming it's his job. Frustrated, Ayan injures Zoid's insults. Zoid hits him for daring to look at them, and Ayan apologizes sadly, lamenting the world's unfairness. After finishing the task, Jolene expresses disgust, unable to believe Ayan put his hand inside the rat's belly. However, as an appraiser, this filthy work is part of his job. The corpse must be evaluated before it can be handed over to the Guild for Magical Processing. Ayan reflects on their repulsion and admits to himself that he cannot blame them for feeling that way. Zoid snaps at Ayan again, reminding him that the only reason they tolerate his presence is to avoid dirtying their magical bag with unclean corpses. Reluctantly, Ayan continues to endure their treatment to survive in this harsh world. As they proceed, they stumble upon the corpse of a hellhound. Zoid orders Ayan to harvest its materials, which surprises Ayan. According to guild records, such a beast shouldn't exist in this dungeon. Zoid dismisses Ayan's concerns and insists on completing the task as hellhound materials fetch a high price. Ayan complies but notices something wrong when they find a second hellhound corpse. The map they received indicates only one path in this area. Zoid mocks Ayan's doubts and orders him to stop whining about irrelevant details. Ayan urges the group to leave immediately, sensing danger. Zoid refuses and threatens to leave Ayan behind without his share of the loot if he doesn't comply. Ayan contemplates his options, knowing few groups would accept someone of his status. Reluctantly, he agrees to stay with the group to avoid losing his livelihood. They move further down the path and discover a mountain of treasures. Ayan is astonished and wonders who defeated all the hellhounds. If adventurers did this, why didn't they collect the materials? Suddenly, a large pack of monsters emerges, revealing that the corpses were the result of a territorial fight. The group panics, realizing they are outmatched, and decides to flee the area. Zoid says, "I couldn't face this number even if I were immortal." He orders Jolene to cast a paralysis spell on Ayan. Ayan panics, shocked by their actions. Jolene tells him the spell won't last long, adding, "You might escape if you're lucky." The hellhounds attack Ayan, biting him from all sides. In desperation, he throws them a magical apple to distract them before attempting to flee. "This is my chance to escape," Ayan says as he runs from the monsters. However, he finds the exit blocked and continues walking until he reaches a dead end. He mutters to himself, "If I go back, the hounds will eat me, and if I move forward, I'll fall off the cliff and die. This is because I was born as a useless appraiser. I became an adventurer trying to escape my fate and live my life. Zoid and the others mocked me, and I bowed my head to them because I couldn't fight. I'm just a worthless appraiser. All I've done is blame my job and run away. But it's too late now, due to my weakness." Ayan falls from the cliff, saying, "Why was I even born? There's no meaning to my life. I couldn't accomplish anything. In the end, I achieved nothing. It was a terrible life. I was treated like garbage, and now I'll die?" The scene shifts to a serene place where a beautiful girl appears and kisses Ayan on the forehead. When he wakes up, he is astonished to find all his injuries healed. Looking around, he notices a giant tree and realizes it is the world tree. Long ago, our world had a single world tree responsible for producing the magical energy we use. We inhale mana from the atmosphere and process it within our bodies. The tree responsible for this mana is the world tree. It is said to have withered long ago and no longer exists. Then how is mana still being produced after the death of the world tree? Scientists theorize that other world trees might exist elsewhere and launched extensive campaigns to find them. However, despite searching the entire Earth, no world tree was found. Ayan thanks the tree for saving his life. This place is so peaceful for a Demus. I don't sense any monsters. But then he wonders, what should I do now? He remembers the group that betrayed him and sold him out to the monsters. Determined, he stands up. I have to find food to survive, no matter the risk. Taking a chance, he ventures out. Suddenly, a shocking event occurs. His ear is cut off before his eyes. Immediately after, his fingers are severed. Ayan screams in agony as his body is struck repeatedly, leaving him injured everywhere. At that moment, a one-eyed monster appears, intending to kill him. Just as Ayan braces for his end, a more terrifying creature arrives and ends the one-eyed monster's life instantly. The giant bear-like creature grabs Ayan, prepares to finish him off. However, a mysterious individual intervenes, saving Ayan's life and restoring completely as if nothing had happened. Ayan then encounters the beautiful girl again and is captivated by her charm. And so, our episode ends here. Stay tuned for the next installment, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Liam finds himself in the body of a young man from a family on the brink of collapse, and he decides to explore his dream of learning magic, only to discover that his newfound passion may change both his fate and that of his family forever. Our story begins with a boy waking up to find himself seated at a grand dining table during a lavish celebration. He is bewildered, wondering where he is and why he is there, as the last thing he remembers before falling asleep was being at his work desk. When he looks into a mirror, he screams in shock. His face has changed, and he now appears as a young child. Next, we see Count Hamilton, who instructs him to behave properly, addressing him as Liam, the fifth son of the Hamilton family. The boy then realizes that this Count is his father and that he has been transported to another world, taking on the identity of Liam. A maid informs him that the Count is in a good mood today because he has finally been blessed with a daughter after having only sons. The following morning, Liam wakes up and the maid brings him his clothes. Liam reveals to us that the owner of this body is named Liam Hamilton, the fifth son of the Count, but he has no idea why this has happened to him. We then see Liam sitting with his older brother, Bruno, the fourth son of the family. Bruno tells Liam that their family is on the brink of ruin because this is the natural cycle dictated by the kingdom. Families either achieve great accomplishments or lose their status after 3 generations. If their father does not allow their eldest brother to inherit the title, their family will become commoners. Their teacher enters the room to begin their lesson for the day, which is about magic. Liam becomes very excited, much to Bruno's surprise. Bruno questions Liam's enthusiasm, explaining that only 1 out of every 100 people possesses magical talent. After the lesson, Liam rushes to the library, grabs a book on magic, and tries using magic. To his astonishment, he succeeds. Liam then takes several books on magic from the library and starts studying magic diligently day after day. A month later, we see Liam in the forest with his brother. Liam casts a magic spell, surprising his brother, who is astonished that Liam managed to learn magic in just 1 month. When Bruno tries to use magic himself, he fails. Liam realizes that his body must have had magical talent all along, and if he can master magic, he will secure a place for himself in the kingdom. Liam returns home and decides to advance to learning ice magic, but his father appears and requests to see his magical abilities. Liam demonstrates his ice magic on a book, but admits he is still a beginner in ice magic. He proudly shows his fire magic skills instead. His father is amazed that Liam mastered fire magic in just 1 month and becomes very pleased. He tells Liam to take any magic books he desires from the library. Shortly after, a guard whispers something to the Count, who then orders his soldiers to gather immediately. As Liam walks outside, he sees a boy named Raymond sitting under a tree. Raymond asks Liam if he is indeed one of the Hamilton family members. When Liam confirms, Raymond cryptically tells him to do whatever he pleases. Liam is puzzled by his words and asks what exactly he means. Raymond initially assumes Liam has come to capture him, but Liam, unaware of anything, explains that he's just a child. When Raymond notices the magic book in Liam's hand, he realizes Liam is learning basic magic. Raymond advises Liam that the best way to learn magic is through consistent and regular practice. Liam responds that he knows this, which is why he was on his way to train. Raymond, wanting to teach Liam a better and more effective way to use magic, demonstrates by channeling 5 elements of magic simultaneously in one hand. Liam is astonished by this feat, and eagerly agrees to be trained by Raymond, who notes that Liam lacks the meaningless pride typical of most nobles. Raymond starts by asking Liam to draw a circle with his left hand and a square with his right hand simultaneously. Liam successfully does this. Raymond explains that magic works similarly. He must use different spells with each hand. Liam tries this and manages to cast 2 types of magic at the same time. Raymond is impressed because this technique, known as the Enigma, can only be mastered by 1 in a million people. Raymond then trains Liam to use 3 types of magic simultaneously. Liam succeeds briefly but quickly runs out of magical energy. Thinking he failed, Liam is reassured by Raymond, who explains that the technique consumed too much energy, and Liam's success was already a significant achievement. To help Liam control his magical energy better, Raymond asks him to sit on the ground and draws prime numbers in front of him. When Liam reads the numbers, Raymond explains that the technique relies on prime numbers because using sequential numbers could cause problems with even and odd transitions, like moving from 4 to 6 or 9. After some practice, Raymond asks Liam about his age. Liam replies that he is 12 years old. Raymond tells him he has a bright future and that his ability to listen to advice is a great weapon. When Raymond asks if Liam wants to learn more magic, Liam eagerly agrees. Raymond then gives him a magical ring, explaining that it contains the equivalent of 100 magic books. Liam is thrilled and puts on the ring, instantly feeling over 300 spells flowing into his mind. Raymond asks Liam to try casting a spell. Liam uses the wind bullet spell and succeeds. However, when Liam turns to talk to Raymond, he finds him gone. Just then, Liam's maid arrives, bringing him his magic book. She warns him about the dangers of being out here alone and gives him the book, stating that his father instructed her to deliver it. She then urges Liam to return to the castle quickly before walking away. Raymond reappears, explaining that he concealed himself using magic to avoid being seen. He advises Liam not to stay here any longer, but offers to teach him one final lesson. He asks Liam to open the book the maid brought. Inside, Liam finds a summoning spell for Salamander, a low-level fire spirit. Raymond instructs Liam to try casting this spell while wearing the ring. Liam places his hands on the magic book, and from it emerges a small creature. The man speaks to Liam, explaining that the book's magical contents should be seen as a notebook with blank pages, while the ring itself is not extraordinary but merely a tool to save him the burden of carrying the book. Liam, however, tells him he cannot accept such a valuable gift as the book is incredibly useful. Placing his hands on the book again, Liam summons various creatures and people, delighting in his success. The mentor disappears once more, prompting Liam to ask, "Did you use that concealment spell again?" The mentor replies, "Keep studying magic. We'll meet again someday, but don't tell anyone about me." Liam reflects, thinking to himself, "We spent such a short time together and I don't even know his name, but that man is my teacher." About a month after his teacher's departure, in the same training spot, Liam demonstrates significant progress in magic. Bruno approaches him, asking what he is doing. Liam explains about white charcoal, noting that it burns hotter than regular wood charcoal, produces no smoke, and lasts longer. Bruno is impressed and inquires how Liam managed it. Liam reveals he made it using magic. Bruno also notices something else and asks, "Are these liquor crystals? They can restore consumed magical energy? Did you make these using magic as well?" Liam nods, explaining that it was challenging at first since it required the simultaneous use of 5 types of magic. Bruno is astonished, acknowledging Liam's exceptional abilities. He reassures Liam, saying, "You'll be fine on your own in the future. I'm planning to marry into a lower-ranked but devout noble family. They're poorer than the Hamiltons, but I'll gain more freedom that way." Bruno shares more family history, revealing that after Liam's birth, their father desperately wanted a daughter to marry into the royal family to secure their noble standing. However, Liam was born as another son. Their father then sent 1,000 soldiers to defeat a powerful sealed beast on their land, hoping for glory. Unfortunately, the soldiers suffered a devastating loss, with 90% perishing. Bruno candidly admits that the Hamilton family's noble status is nearing its end and advises Liam to think about achieving independence. Liam thanks his brother for his honesty. After Bruno leaves, Liam contemplates securing funds for his independence. He decides he wants something with greater profit potential. While exploring, he eats at a local shop and is amazed by the food. The shopkeeper explains that pasta is very popular in the city. Inspired, Liam takes some pasta back to the castle and asks the maid to try it. Following his instructions, she pours hot water on it and everyone is amazed by its flavor. The chef declares it delicious even though it is preserved food. The scene shifts to Liam negotiating with a merchant. The merchant refuses to trade the goods, stating that only Liam's eldest brother, Sir Brevet, has the authority to conduct business on Hamilton land without permission. Frustrated, Liam vows not to let his brother monopolize their lands. He regrets not knowing about this law earlier and doubts his father will grant him the permission he needs to fund his independence. Determined, Liam heads to the forest. He explains a storage spell he learned from a magic encyclopedia, a useful spell that compresses items into a small storage space. Initially, the stored items vanished when the spell dissipated, but after a month of practice, Liam perfected it. He then successfully summons a magical clone of himself. Celebrating his progress, Liam sends the clone to the city, where it uses magic to create and sell various inventions. The money earned goes toward funding Liam's independence. The episode begins with Liam, now a bit older, still training to use magic. He has gained precise control over it, and at this time, his older brother Albrevet comes to him, mentioning that he has heard about how impressive Liam has become lately, as everyone is talking about his magical skills. He then asks Liam what he wants to become in the future, and Liam realizes that Albrevet is worried that Liam might replace him as the heir, since he eldest son of the Hamilton family and the future head of the family. Liam responds by saying that he would like to resign soon, if possible, and find a job that allows him to support himself. Albrevet then tells him about the Hunters Guild, where he can join. Liam goes to the guild to join, but when he enters, everyone is surprised to see him, as he is just a child. They mock him, saying that this place isn't for kids and that he should go to his father. But Liam ignores them and continues on his way to the president. When the president sees him, he recognizes him and asks him to take a test, since they can't send him to a place beyond his abilities, which could lead to his death. The president then asks Liam to cast an offensive spell he is skilled in, and even though Liam can't use his full power, he uses an illusion spell. The spell amazes everyone, as they have never seen such a high-level magic before. The president then tells him that he will grant him a rank B license. Liam leaves the guild, not understanding the importance of the rank B license. At that moment, a female adventurer named Asuna calls out to him, asking if they can hunt together, as hunting is very dangerous and working in a team is much safer. Liam agrees, as he likes cheerful people like Asuna. While they are walking in the forest, Liam asks her why they don't take any missions, and she explains that usually only those ranked A and above can take hunting jobs. At that moment, a pack of huge wolves appears, and Liam casts his gnome spell, summoning strange creatures that defeat the wolves. They then return to the guild with the defeated monsters. When the president sees them, he decides to hire them for a task, as they are very strong. Indeed, they are given the task and head to the forest, excited because this is their first job, meaning their strength has been recognized. They are tasked with hunting a giant larva, and Asuna is scared because she doesn't know how to deal with such a monster. These creatures have magical stones inside their bodies, and sometimes they use magic or advanced combat techniques, making them much more dangerous than ordinary beasts. At this moment, Liam decides not to use his illusion magic today, as he wants all his resources to be available. They try to hunt the giant larva using various methods, but it's too tough and no spells seem to work on it. Then an idea comes to Liam. He plans to have Asuna distract the larva, making it chase her while Liam will drop a large box on it. This strategy succeeds, and they manage to kill the larva. They return to the guild with 2 larvae, the second of which Liam found by quickly using a spell to detect enemies. The president is once again amazed by their strength and increases their reward 5-fold, which makes them very happy. Later, a significant person named James Stanley arrives at the guild and requests to meet Liam. When they sit together, James welcomes him and tells him that he's the 5th son of Raymond. James then asks about Liam's connection to Raymond, as the ring on Liam's finger belongs to Raymond. Liam doesn't know what he's talking about, so James explains that Raymond had given him the ring. James laughs, saying that Raymond often sneaks into the most dangerous places. James then speaks to Simon and orders him to stand in a corner. He asks Liam to cast his strongest offensive spell on Simon because he wants to see the full extent of Liam's strength. Liam thinks about using chance, as he has researched them and learned that they temporarily raise the maximum limit of his magic power. Suddenly, he casts the spell on Simon, and James is amazed by the power. He tells Liam that he should become independent in the future and will grant him the title of knight. Liam agrees, though he will stay with his family until he reaches adulthood. Afterward, Liam performs the ritual and officially becomes a knight, with James giving him a powerful sword. James then tells him that there is nothing specific he must do. He mentions that escaping from his brother's hostility will be a big challenge, and his father might feel conflicted as he hoped to use Liam's power for the family. Liam reflects on this, and James tells him that he can help in various ways, as his accomplishments will reflect back on his family. James then asks Liam if he has ever felt like Raymond tricked him. Liam recalls a time when he was training a spell for a storage box and ended up absorbing all the water from a lake. Raymond had sent him a message saying he had mastered the spell and wouldn't collect gold ingots, so he scattered gold dust into the lake instead. The scene continues with the message from Liam's mentor explaining that the gold dust in the lake was just a disguise for his graduation gift. The real gift is something hidden nearby, a treasure not immediately obvious. This is the true graduation gift. Later, we see Liam in the forest where he uses his storage box spell to absorb all the water from the lake. He mixes in the gold dust, telling himself that it's no different from leaving the gold ingots in the lake. He then opens the box, descending into it, and reads a message from his mentor, which explains that the true gift is a powerful magical book, something his mentor could not use, but hopes Liam can. The book contains a spell for creating a space in another world, one that expands according to the user's magical ability. No one can enter without the user's permission, and the items inside will not disappear once the spell is fully mastered. This spell is similar to the storage box, but it allows living creatures, including humans, to enter. Liam is excited and wonders if he could even build a secret magical house in this new world. He thanks his mentor and is eager to train with the new spell. A month later, we see Liam and Asuna in the forest battling a monster using his magic. Afterward, Liam uses the new spell to create a barrier and protect them from a spell the monster cast. They defeat the monster, and as they return to the guild with the magical stone, the man there recognizes it as a Ranka item from a giant frog. He remarks that they should have struggled more, but thanks them for what they've done. Asuna, feeling the need to become stronger, expresses her concern that Liam will leave her behind. The man explains that she could become his follower through a contract which would increase her strength to protect her master. Asuna asks Liam if they can make such a contract, confident that he won't do anything strange, and Liam agrees. The man activates the contract between them, making him the witness. Asuna gains a new skill called Accelerator. Liam explains that this is the power of a follower's contract and expresses his desire to conduct more research. However, for that, they need an experimental sample, which may be done willingly or unwillingly. Next, the scene shifts to a house where Asuna introduces Liam to Judy, an experienced hunter who helps them with various tasks. Judy understands what's going on and agrees to help them, assuming they've found someone special. Asuna recommends Judy as a great ally in battle. Afterward, they go to the guild and make a contract with Judy, who has a unique skill. They ask her about it, and she tells them to wait for a moment. We see Judy preparing sandwiches, which she takes to a wounded man, offering him a meal. After eating, the man says his wounds have completely healed. Judy comments that her cooking seems to heal wounds, and everyone is amazed by this unexpected ability. A few days later, at James' palace, Liam says that the first princess of the kingdom of Jamil, Princess Scarlet, is coming. He informs James that she is aware of his achievements. You have completed rank missions in the Hunters Guild at the age of 12. You are a magician capable of casting up to 11 spells simultaneously, and you are an expert able to develop and strengthen your followers. Princess Scarlet is particularly interested in you, especially in your followers. You need to explain this to her. Liam refuses, saying that his followers are his friends, not for display, and they cannot simply obey his commands. He adds that he doesn't want to ask them to do anything. James, irritated, responds, "We are talking about the princess here," and orders Liam to leave. Later, we see the princess disguised as a maid. James apologizes to her, but she tells him, "It's not your fault, but don't speak to me like that." The episode ends with Liam leaving, and the narrator invites viewers to stay tuned for the next episodes. The video encourages viewers to like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to receive updates on new content. Takumi is summoned to another world by mistake, but he cannot return to his original world. However, in return, he gains incredible skills and decides to live in this new world. The episode begins with the spirit of a person named Takumi, who finds himself in an unknown place. Suddenly surrounded by light, a woman named Nolan, a sorceress capable of summoning anyone to any location, speaks to him. She explains that he was accidentally summoned to Midgard along with a group of people. It seems that the summoning, intended to bring others, mistakenly brought him as well. Takumi doesn't understand her at first, so she clarifies that she wanted to summon people randomly from multiple worlds, but the spell she used is very dangerous. The laws of this world are different from those of Earth, and there's a risk of the collapse of Midgard itself. Takumi asks if the others who were summoned are here, and Nolan replies that they are not. The correct targets of the spell should have been safely brought to the Holy Empire of Sidonia. Takumi realizes that it was just an accident, and he asks her to send him back. Nolan becomes flustered because she can't use the spell again, and besides, he no longer has a body to return to. Takumi grows angry, not knowing what to do, and asks her what will happen to him. Nolan tells him he must live a new life as a resident of Midgard. Takumi asks to be sent to Sidonia, but Nolan refuses, saying the Holy Empire of Sidonia is full of problems and that, since he was brought here by mistake, he would be treated poorly there. After feeling guilty, Nolan decides to send him to a different land with her magical support as an apology. She transports him to a fantasy world similar to video games, novels, and anime. Takumi asks if there are monsters and dragons, and she confirms there are all sorts of things. After looking into Takumi's background, she sees he was an office worker in his world, so she decides to make him a hero and a warrior, as there are no office workers in Midgard. She grants him many skills like swordsmanship, magic, and knighthood. She tells him that if he exploits the skills he gains from his actions, he will be able to earn a profession, and if he desires a crafting job, she will grant him a useful spell for it, along with healing magic for his protection. At the end of their conversation, she sends him to the continent of Asgard. Takumi wakes up in Asgard, confused and disoriented. He stumbles upon a lake and is surprised to find his appearance has improved. He decides to forget about his past and sits down to eat. He finds that he has a stockpile of food and some money. When he checks his skills, he decides to size them and uses water magic, wind-cutting magic, and a stone ball spell. He is overjoyed by how fantastical this world is. He then explores the forest, hoping to find a nearby village. Along the way, he finds a high-quality piece of wood, which he recognizes is useful for making magical staffs and magic tools, as well as for crafting spear poles. Excited, Takumi decides to use his blacksmithing skill to craft a large spear. He wonders what other resources this world holds, so he collects many plants. However, his small bag can't carry everything, so he remembers the toolbox he has and stores the items there. Suddenly, he hears a girl scream and sees a huge rabbit chasing her. The girl hides behind him and asks him to save her from the rabbit, as these rabbits in this world eat humans. Takumi, frightened, gathers his strength and strikes the rabbit with the spear, killing it and gaining the warrior skill. The girl thanks him, introducing herself as Molly. Takumi asks where she is from, and she says she's from the village of Board. She had been gathering medicinal herbs and got lost in the forest. Takumi decides to accompany her back to her village. When they arrive, he opens his toolbox to place the rabbit inside, but is surprised because he didn't want to open it in front of Molly. Meanwhile, in the Holy Empire of Sidonia, 3 people from another world find themselves in a palace, confused about how they arrived. Elizabeth, the first empress of the Holy Empire of Sidonia, appears before them and thanks them for responding to her summoning. One of the individuals asks where they are, and Elizabeth explains that this is a different world entirely, and they were summoned here to use their powers as heroes to save this world. They don't understand what she's saying, so she promises to explain further later and introduces herself as Empress Elizabeth. Back with Takumi, after arriving at Molly's house, her family thanks him for saving her. He meets her parents, her father, Banga, a hunter, and her mother, Martha. Takumi asks if he can stay in the village for a while, and Banga agrees, explaining that the land is rich in ingredients for making medicines and that there's a nearby source of raw materials. Takumi is introduced to Buban, a blacksmith who knows a lot about mining raw materials. Takumi is welcome to stay. Grateful, Takumi thanks them, and they inform him that there are no available inns in the village, so they will build him a small house. Banga speaks with Takumi, apologizing for the small space, but explaining that it's all they have. He urges everyone to start working. Takumi begins using his magic to build his house, but soon becomes exhausted as he has drained most of his mana. Banga approaches him and tells him to leave the next steps to him. Takumi, feeling a sense of accomplishment, thinks to himself that his new life has begun. Thanks to his skills in woodworking, blacksmithing, and carpentry, he was able to create some furniture, and now he can change them as needed. He's happy that he has iron, silver, copper, and magical iron, which he mined with Buban, and that the magical iron is now saturated with mana. He decides to turn them into ingots, knowing that normally this would require a large furnace. But since this is a fantasy world, he can try something different: alchemy. Alchemy consists of 5 techniques: dissembling, extracting, grinding, creating, and reassembling. Takumi uses earth magic to extract iron ore and transforms it into iron ingots. He's excited and keeps refining them, thinking of all the things he can make from iron and copper. Meanwhile, Molly approaches and finds Takumi collapsed on the ground with everyone gathered around him. Takumi explains that he got carried away, used too much mana, causing him to lose consciousness. Martha scolds him for overexerting himself, but after taking a healing potion from Banga, Takumi explains that he was able to extract iron, silver, copper, magical iron, and small amounts of lead, tungsten, and tin, which allowed him to craft kitchen tools and other items. His alchemy level has increased significantly. Later, Takumi learns how to craft weapons and says, "This is the finest piece I've made. Once I craft the sheath, it will be complete." He then goes to Banga and asks if he has any raw materials left. Banga confirms that he does, though they are all basic materials. Takumi mentions that he is considering trying to make potions using the medicinal herbs he collected, and Banga agrees, saying that when Takumi completes them, he can sell some to him. Takumi starts experimenting with alchemy, mixing crushed hellcoke herbs with water. As he mixes, the color changes, and he recalls experiments he did as a child. He realizes that the color has changed and that he can feel mana within the mixture. He wonders if this is because he used water magic to prepare the water. He is eager to learn more potion recipes. Takumi later ventures into the forest, eating herbs but feeling tired. He performs a purification spell on himself, thinking that while this method is a bit extreme for gaining resistance and enhancing state magic skills, it's necessary. Thanks to this, he can now use purification magic. At that moment, a monster approaches Takumi. He gets frightened and tries using magic to fight it, but it doesn't work. He notices the venomous spider behind him, but sees that the spider was injured by the monster. Takumi realizes that his magic isn't affecting the monster and he must try something else. He casts another spell and finally succeeds in killing the monster. Takumi then goes to help the injured spider, healing it. To his surprise, the spider wants Takumi to tame it. Takumi is amazed and names the spider Maple, and the spider happily accepts its new name. The villagers are amazed by Takumi's victory over the large monster, a boar, and they are scared of the tame monster. Banga remarks that everyone knows monsters like insects cannot be tamed, but they are glad because they are going to have a feast with the boar's meat. Banga also mentions that the boar's hide, tusks, and skin remnants can be used to craft leather armor, and if Takumi heads to a city, he can sell the leftover skin at Bolton City. A friend of Banga notes that the village has become brighter thanks to Takumi, though he isn't the type to stay in a small village like this forever. The scene then shifts to Lona, who is pleased with Takumi's progress. Her friend explains that she gave Takumi a special body, but more importantly, she sent him a whole year into the past before the Holy Empire of Sidonia cast its summoning spell. The episode ends with a teaser for the next one. The narrator invites viewers to like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to stay updated on future episodes. Our episode today starts with Takumi being super mad at his spider friend Maple. Turns out, she wrapped him up completely in a cocoon while he was sleeping. She apologizes, explaining she was testing how strong her silk was and had no one else to try it on. Meanwhile, Takumi is deep into making potions and working on other projects, barely paying attention to Maple. She feels a bit ignored, so he apologizes and promises to take a break and play with her. She gets so happy she starts dancing with joy. Just then, their friend shows up with some food. She walks in on them playing and is totally shocked, thinking something else is going on. Once she realizes what's happening, she picks up some of the silk and says, "Wow, this spider silk is amazing." She decides to make clothes out of it, and the results are stunning. The silk is so luxurious that only nobles can afford to wear it. She asks Takumi if he can make the silk even stretchier, and he agrees to help. Later, Takumi notices Maple having a great time, so he decides to keep himself busy too. With so much work to do, he thinks about heading to the city to study alchemy, but he's not sure how to explain his departure to the villagers after living with them for almost a month. Next, we see Takumi visiting the blacksmith, who has crafted him an outfit made of iron and steel. The boots are sturdy enough to kick through almost anything. While he's there, Banjo shows up and tells him, if you want to make real money, you should head to the city. There's more demand there, and you can sell tons of stuff and rake in a fortune. This village is too small for big profits. Banjo adds that Takumi doesn't need to worry about travel expenses because a merchant from Bolton will be arriving next week. They've arranged for him to hitch a ride in the merchant's wagon. Takumi is overjoyed and thanks them for their kindness. Later, we see Martha holding some rabbit guts from one of Banjo's hunts. Takumi is surprised and says they need to be thoroughly washed with water and lemon to avoid diseases or parasites. Unfortunately, since they don't have lemon or any cleaning materials, they'll have to throw them out. But Takumi uses his chemical abilities to treat the guts instead. Martha is super grateful but warns him not to use his powers too openly. She explains only a few people have skills like yours and those who do make a living off them. If you start doing things for free, people will get mad at you for ruining their business. Some might even come after you. After that, we learn that Takumi spends a whole week crafting new items, preparing for his upcoming journey. Takumi also built a large wall around the village to protect it from monsters and created a water pump so everyone could have free access to clean water. Later, Babik welcomes Takumi and thanks him for agreeing to travel with him. Before leaving, Takumi gives Banjo a special bottle and says, "I've sent 100 of these bottles to your house. If anything happens in the village, you must distribute them to everyone immediately." The merchant is shocked and asks what the potion is. Takumi explains that it's a primary healing potion. Babek is amazed and can't believe Takumi made it himself. As the villagers gather to say goodbye, Martha gives Takumi a beautiful cloak. They all bid him a warm farewell. and he thanks them sincerely for all they've done for him. Takumi leaves with Babik and his group, feeling sad because he's grown attached to the village and its people. On the way, Babik talks to Takumi, telling him how much the villagers adore him and see him as family. Soon, the group of adventurers traveling with them introduces themselves. They're a C-rank team called Lion's Fang and serve as Babik's personal guards. One of them notices the bag Takumi is clutching tightly and asks what's inside. Takumi casually replies, "Oh, it's my killer spider." Everyone is stunned that he managed to tame such a creature. Rael, one of the adventurers, asks to see it. When he tries to get close, the spider hits him as it doesn't like being disturbed while sleeping. Takumi explains that the spider is scared of humans and the outside world, but has taken a liking to Boger, another member of the team. Babik then asks Takumi about the potions he made, expressing interest in buying one. Just as they're talking, they sense something nearby. Babik stops the carriage, and they find themselves surrounded by a group of goblins. The adventurers leap into action, asking Takumi to stay put. They make quick work of the goblins, gathering their magical stones before continuing their journey. When they finally reach Bolton, the capital of Barcola, Takumi is amazed by everything in the big city. It's his first visit to such a place. He accompanies Lion's Fang to the Adventurers Guild, where they report the success of their escort mission. Takumi decides to register himself at the guild to stay in the city, and even registers his spider Maple as his pet. Next, Takumi heads to the Alchemists Guild, only to find out there isn't one in Bolton. Instead, most people use the Adventurers Guild for identification purposes. He decides to remain at the lowest rank as it only requires him to complete one simple mission a month to maintain his status. Afterward, Takumi visits Babik's company. In Babik's office, Takumi delivers the potions he had promised, surprising Babik with their high quality and effectiveness. Babik is thoroughly impressed and begins planning ways to work with Takumi in the future. Babik then asks Takumi about pricing: 10 silver coins for each healing and stamina potion, and 50 silver coins for each mana potion. Takumi quickly does the math in his head and realizes he could make a fortune. He's shocked by the potential earnings, but Babik apologizes, explaining that the prices are lower because Takumi hasn't built a reputation for himself yet. Takumi can't help but wonder why Babik is helping him so much. Does he have a hidden motive? However, Babik doesn't seem like the type to deceive others. Babik shifts the conversation to Takumi's living arrangements. He suggests that if Takumi wants to work as a producer, he should live in a house with a workshop. Takumi declines, explaining that he's only just arrived in the city and doesn't have the savings to buy a house. Babik then offers another solution: renting a place. He assures Takumi that his company can recommend a suitable home. Babik calls for his assistant, Thomas, and asks him to take Takumi to the house they had discussed earlier. When they arrive, Takumi is amazed by the beauty of the house. It's spacious, functional, and perfect for his needs. Takumi can't believe such a place is being offered to him. Thomas tells Takumi the rent is 1 gold coin and 50 silver coins per month. Takumi thinks to himself, that's so cheap, it seems I can even use the storage room as a workshop. I'll be able to cover the rent easily with the money I'll earn from the potion deal. Turning to Maple, Takumi says, this is our new home. Thomas asks him if he likes the house. Takumi replies, it's beautiful. I'll take it. Thomas assures him that everything will be arranged so he can move in tomorrow. Before leaving, Takumi asks a question that's been on his mind since he arrived in the city. Thomas explains the smell of the sewers. Nobles use magical purification tools to treat the waste from their estates, but those aren't used for the city's main sewers. Occasionally, priests are hired to purify them, but the process isn't consistent. To get more purification tools, we'd have to excavate them from ancient ruins or dungeons. The next day, Takumi and Maple move into their new home. Takumi begins fixing the exterior walls. He mixes mortar with clay he bought from Babik's company, using magic to mold it. Once it dries, he enhances it with heat manipulation magic, shortening the drying time with spatial temporal magic, and stabilizes its condition with alchemy. Exhausted from using so much mana, Takumi is thrilled when the repair turns out perfectly. Suddenly, Takumi hears someone shouting. He finds that Maple has wrapped Babik in her silk. Frustrated, Takumi scolds her, saying, only kids enjoy pranks like this. However, Babik, looking very relaxed, says, this silk is so comfortable it's making me want to take a nice nap. Takumi apologizes, but Babik laughs it off, saying it was a bit surprising, but no harm done. As Babik heads to the restroom, he comes out moments later, yelling, what is this? Takumi responds, I installed a magical purification tool. After you're done, it disintegrates the waste. Babik, amazed, asks, can you make 100 more of these? Babik is overjoyed, saying, you'll need extra hands for this. I suggest contracting a servant. Given your talents and preferences, a servant bound by a secrecy contract through magic would be ideal. They could help manage your workshop and protect you. Babek continues, you seem to have an affinity for light magic, which makes you a chosen one, according to the Church of Light that leads the Holy Empire of Sidonia. They recruit anyone with an affinity for light magic and profit from exploiting their healing abilities. I doubt they'd ignore the purification magic you've incorporated into this restroom. I have some ideas about how to gain support for this project, but we'll need to ensure that no one finds out who's behind it. So Babik insists it's wise to make a contract with a servant. Takumi firmly responds, hold on, I'm against the use of slaves. I don't feel the term is acceptable. If it means contracting with a slave, I'd rather handle everything myself. At that moment, Takumi receives a message from the Adventurers Guild. You have been assigned a task that must be completed at a suitable level within 1 month of registration. We apologize for the inconvenience during your busy schedule and request that you visit the Adventurers Guild before the deadline. Babek offers to accompany him, saying Mulan Company is the most reliable slave trading firm in Bolton. Reluctantly, Takumi follows Babek, but waits outside the company while Babik steps in to handle his business. Takumi wanders into the garden nearby and is captivated by its beauty. There he encounters a stunning young woman who catches his eye. She glances at him and unexpectedly says, go home. Takumi is left puzzled and intrigued by her abrupt words. And so today's episode of this anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content. A man died suddenly, and when he woke up, he discovered that he had been transported to another world as Shion with extraordinary powers. He became the hero of this world and saved it from troubles using his exceptional magic. The first episode of this anime begins with a little girl named Mary waiting at the doorstep of her house for her parents, who are returning from a trip. When she sees them, she runs to them with joy, and they warmly welcome her. They ask her if she felt lonely while they were away, but she replies that Rose was with her, so she didn't feel alone. Her mother then introduces her to her little brother, Shion. Mary is thrilled to see him because he is so small and adorable. 3 years later, Mary and Shion have grown a bit. Mary is seen playing in the garden with Shion, where she wins a race against him. At that moment, their father returns home from work. Mary and Shion greet him warmly, and he comments on how full of energy Mary is and how trustworthy Shion has become. Mary tells her father that Shion helps their mother around the house, doesn't wet his bed, and sometimes looks unusually serious for his age, trying to do things she doesn't quite understand. That evening, during dinner, Shion talks to his father and asks him if monsters really exist. His father replies that they do exist, which is why Shion must never leave the kingdom. He's sure Shion's mother has told him not to wander outside because monsters are very dangerous. They attack people, and his life would be in danger if he got too close to one. His father advises him to seek help from an adult if he ever sees one. Shion then asks another question, do fairies and spirits exist? His father answers that he hasn't heard of spirits, but knows fairies definitely exist. However, they are very rare, so it's unlikely that he would encounter one. Some traders specialize in bringing fairies, but they are not common. Shion asks one last question about the existence of magic in their lives. His father seems confused and doesn't understand what Shion means. Shion explains about fire magic, water magic, air magic, and light magic, which can create all kinds of things from nothing. His father still doesn't understand because he has never heard of such a thing as magic, even though he is a well-educated man. He then asks Shion where he learned about monsters, fairies, and magic, but Shion doesn't answer. Mary changes the topic, noticing that Shion looks a bit pale. 3 more years pass and Mary grows older. She trains rigorously in combat. After finishing her training one day, she sits beside Shion to rest. Shion asks her why she trains so much. Mary replies that, as the older sister, she needs to be prepared in case something happens, like an attack by monsters or villains. She needs to be ready to protect their home. Despite the difficulty of her training, she enjoys it, explaining that while she isn't very smart, she excels in physical activities. One night, Mary and her friend Rose go to the lake where Mary continues her training. Rose is amazed at how tirelessly Mary trains throughout the day without getting bored. Mary asks Rose to spar with her, but Rose refuses, saying she's exhausted from helping her grandfather. Rose then asks about Shion and why he always isolates himself at home, spending all his days studying. Mary responds that she doesn't know why her brother behaves that way. Suddenly, small glowing orbs of light appear, floating above the lake. Both Mary and Rose are astonished by what they see. Mary decides to take her brother to see what happens, so the next day she takes Shion to the lake. Shion is very worried because their mother had told them not to wander far from home. Mary reassures him, telling him not to worry as she's with him and there are no monsters here. They arrive at the lake just as the sun is setting, and Shion tells Mary that their mother will be very angry with them for leaving the house. Mary acknowledges this, but insists that the glowing orbs are worth the trouble. While they're talking, the glowing orbs appear again and they are both amazed by them. Shion asks, if their parents know about this, and Mary responds that they do. She had brought them here immediately when she first discovered them. However, something strange happened. They couldn't see the orbs, which made her worry. She wondered if only adults couldn't see them, or if children couldn't see them too. The orbs blink and disappear for her, but some children can still see the full lights. Shion begins to think deeply about Mary's words. The orbs seem like magic, and Mary continues by saying that magic creates light, which makes her wonder about the nature of the orbs. They decide to head home, and Shion thanks Mary for bringing him to such a beautiful place. The next morning, Shion and Mary have breakfast together, and then they hurry to the lake. They prepare the area to spend the day there until sunset. However, Shion gets very tired because he hasn't been training much, and his body is weak. Mary tells him that it's because he doesn't train, which is why his endurance is poor. She says there's still plenty of time until sunset, and they should do something. Shion replies that he wants to investigate the lake and find out where the glowing orbs come from, wondering if they come from something living in the lake. He says that if they don't investigate properly, they'll never know what the orbs really are. Mary doesn't fully understand, but she agrees because she trusts him. Shion suggests that they first fill 3 buckets with water from the lake, 1 for sand and rocks, 1 for aquatic plants, and the last for fish. Mary helps Shion with what he requested, and they begin to fish. However, Mary feels disappointed when they don't catch anything. Shion tells her that he was just thinking about how happy he is to have her with him and thanks her for doing everything with him. Mary responds that she's free to help him and insists that it's only natural to assist him. She adds that if magic really exists, she wants to see it too. Shion tells her that's exactly why they're there, and it would be wonderful if magic were real. If it is, she'll be the first to know. Just then, the fishing rod catches a fish, and Mary quickly pulls it in. It's a fish called an Ayan trout. Rose then arrives and asks Mary what she's doing there. Mary introduces her to Shion, saying we're fishing. Rose then turns to Shion and asks if he can see the glowing orbs, commenting that they look strange but fascinating. She says he came to the lake because he wants to learn more about the orbs. Mary replies that they're so beautiful and that she sometimes comes just to see them. Shion asks Rose if she knows where the orbs come from. Rose responds that she doesn't know, she just likes to watch them. At night, the glowing orbs appear again, emerging from the lake. They look at the buckets, but nothing happens. Shion says he tried to make them resemble the lake, and there are things living in the lake besides the Ayan trout. Shion and Mary then step into the lake to discover what's there. The glowing orbs emerge again, and Shion touches them. They are very warm and ticklish. He places his face in the water, but it's too dark to see anything. He realizes that the light comes from something living under the water. It's not a plant, but a moving creature, as the spots where the light comes from seem to move. However, he doesn't know what creature could be doing this. Afterwards, Shion thanks Mary for helping him. She responds that they are a family and don't need to thank each other for every little thing. Later, Rose appears with another fish, a female Ayan trout, and Mary explains that it's common to fish for males, but the females are usually in deeper waters. However, it's the mating season, so they swim to the shallows. She heard that many people fish for them during this time. They place the fish in the buckets, and suddenly glowing orbs begin to appear from it. Shion realizes that this is a courtship behavior, and the orbs are part of the display that the Ayan trout makes to attract a mate. Rose explains that it's the way the male trout shows the female that he wants to marry and start a family. The scene then shifts to the palace, where Shion thanks Mary again for her help. She tells him that she will always be there for him, and that they help each other. Shion hugs her, and magical energy in the form of glowing orbs emerges from him. The orbs are part of the courtship display of the Ayan trout, which Shion had been observing closely, and it imprinted itself on him without him realizing it. Shion then remarks that magical energy is real. He had thought that magic didn't exist in this world, but that's just because the techniques known as magic haven't been invented yet. He finds it exciting, and with this, his story begins. In this world where he was reborn, he will create magic. The episode ends with a message inviting viewers to stay tuned for the next episodes. If they like the video, they're encouraged to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated on all new content.
Light is a young boy who dreams of becoming the greatest adventurer in history by a mistake. He ate a devil fruit that he grants him an incredibly powerful skill. Our episode begins with Light, the handsome young man, alongside his friend Lena, discussing extraordinary skills and abilities. Light has a preference for dual swords or swift movement and seeks combat-oriented skills because his dream has always been to become a famous adventurer. So this has been his goal since he was a child. And today, finally, he gets the chance to achieve his dream and acquire new skills. So as for Lina, her ambition is to gain skills similar to Light's. They talk about a fruit-bearing tree that grants skills upon consumption. Eventually, they arrive at a grand building. Inside, they consume the fruits. Light narrates that all of this began 3 months ago. On the day he ate the fruit of skills, the Saintess explained that these fruits grant abilities and allow individuals to pursue careers suited to those skills. However, there is one strict rule: the fruits can only be eaten once in a lifetime. Eating a second one leads to instant death. Many foolish adventurers tried consuming a second fruit, hoping for better skills, but all perished from poisoning. Lina asks Light if he was aware of this, and he confirms, saying sacrifices are necessary. She shares stories of adventurers who gained legendary skills, such as the King of Fists and the Mystic Eye. Inspired, Lina eats her fruit and gains an impressive skill, the Sword Saint's skill. The Saintess is thrilled, as she has long awaited such an adventurer. When Light eats his fruit, he gains the ability of Fruit Master, which he initially thinks makes him destined to be a farmer. Furious and disappointed, he exclaims that he wanted to be an adventurer, not a farmer. The Saintess tries to comfort him, explaining that his skill allows him to harvest large quantities of crops and reduce farming time. Lina reassures him, saying she will help him grow fruits and won't leave his side. Together, they'll build a big farm. The Saintess, however, scolds Lina, declaring that the Sword Saint's skill appears only once every 10 years, and Lina must become an adventurer to serve the country. She takes Lina to the city for immediate recruitment. Lina bids farewell to Light, promising to meet him again someday. Back in the present, 3 months have passed. Light has become a famous farmer, harvesting and selling produce for significant profits. One day, after selling his crops, he sees Lina's image displayed on the city walls. She has risen to an S-rank adventurer in record time. Enraged, Lights to achieve the impossible without combat skills. He begins rigorous sword training. At that moment, a new character, Ella, approaches and greets him warmly. And so, the girl named Ayla became part of Light's life. For reasons unknown, the village chief had recently entrusted her to Light, insisting that he take her in. Now they lived together, sharing work and responsibilities between them. One evening they sat down for dinner. Ayla asked Light about his day and the harvest. He replied that everything was going well, especially with the skill fruits, which he had started focusing on cultivating. Light mentioned his plan to save some money to buy a better sword, and explained that he had carefully sorted the skill fruits into separate boxes. He then warned Ayla never to eat any of these fruits without his permission, no matter the circumstances. Ayla paused for a moment before confessing that she had used some of the fruits to prepare the soup they were eating. Light was shocked. Memories of the Saintess's warning flashed in his mind that eating a second skill fruit would cause instant death. Suddenly, a familiar sensation coursed through his body, an intense heat radiating from within, just like the day he first ate a fruit. He feared for his life but realized it was his fault for not explaining the fruit's danger to Ayla. Collapsing to the ground, Ayla panicked and rushed to his side. To their astonishment, Light stood up moments later, seemingly unscathed. Light was bewildered by what had happened. Not only did he survive, but he also realized he had acquired a new skill, Sword Sovereign. Still, he didn't fully understand its implications. Meanwhile, the Saintess, upon learning of the event, was equally baffled by the turn of events. Back at home, Ayla suddenly fell ill, experiencing a severe headache and fever. Moments later, she discovered she had gained the appraisal skill. Using it, she informed Light that his Fruit Master skill made him immune to all fruit-related toxins. So Light was stunned and asked how she knew this. Ayla explained that when she looked at him, words describing his abilities appeared in her vision. She also revealed that he now possessed the Sword Sovereign skill, which drastically increased his attack power when wielding a sword. Light decided to test these newfound abilities. He took a sword and ventured into the forest. Striking a tree with all his might, he effortlessly cut it down, confirming the power of his new skill. Overjoyed, Light realized he might be the only person with 2 skills. The next day, Light and Ayla headed to the city to visit the Adventurers Guild and take on some quests. Upon entering the guild, they were awestruck by its grandeur and the sight of adventurers bustling about, so it had always been a dream for them to come here. For Light, however, it wasn't just about earning money. He wanted to test his new skills in real battles and see if he could truly join the ranks of adventurers. Deep down, he also yearned to stand beside Lina once more. Light asked Ayla to sit and wait for him while he secured a quest. Sitting alone, Ayla observed the guild's many powerful individuals, noting that everyone seemed to possess only one skill. This made her realize just how unique Light was with his two skills. Wanting to be helpful, she began gathering information using her appraisal skill. She learned about various abilities including combat arts, enemy detection, fire manipulation, and even charm skills. Ayla resolved to use her findings to support Light in his journey. Jean argues with Light when Light accidentally bumps into him. Jean shouts, "A true adventurer should be able to avoid such things. You're the guy who sells fruits at the market, the fruit master. What are you even doing here in the guild? This is no place for you." Jean attacks Light, but Light easily blocks his strike. Jean's friends are shocked that Light managed to stop the attack. Light thinks to himself, "It seems wielding the sword enhances my reaction speed." Jean speaks to Light, "I went easy on you." His friends then say, "Don't waste your time on him. Let's leave and claim our first glorious victory." They leave and Light turns to Ayla, "Let's go. So I've got a mission too." In the forest, Light and Ayla arrive in the forest, and Light says excitedly, "This is our destination. We'll finally see some monsters." He warns Ayla, "This place is dangerous, stay behind me." They begin searching for monsters and encounter their first one, a slime. Ayla informs him that slimes have higher defense than most other monsters. Light talks to his sword. The first to strike wins. "Don't let me down, sword skill." He charges at the slime and successfully defeats it, exclaiming, "I feel like my sword is incredibly light. The boost to my leg strength was amazing." He tells Ayla, "If we return with parts of the slime, we can trade them for money at the guild." Ayla responds, "I feel bad cutting it up and taking its parts." Encountering the ghoul while cutting the slime, they hear screams. They find Jean and his friends fighting a ghoul, but they are terrified. Jean yells, "What is this ghoul doing here? We met a strange man at the guild." The ghoul charges at them, and they try to flee. Light and Ayla witness the scene. Ayla remarks, "These monsters aren't supposed to appear here." Jean and his friends run away, leaving the ghoul in front of Light. Ayla says, "It's focused on you now. We have no choice but to fight." Light prepares himself. "Defeating this monster will be the perfect start to my career as an adventurer." For the ghoul attacks, but Light dodges its blows. Ayla warns him, "Be careful. Sword skill doesn't enhance your physical defense, so if you fail to dodge, you could die instantly." Light thinks to himself, "I must become the greatest adventurer ever. I'll leave my mark on history. I know the strength in my legs now." He charges at the ghoul, striking it and cutting it in half. Light celebrates, "I did it." The fruit master and sword skills are both incredible. At the guild, the receptionist says, "You didn't just defeat a slime, but also a ghoul." Light responds, "Yes, here's the ghoul's horn as proof." Jean's friend chimes in, "Yes, we were watching. We can confirm it, this man saved our lives." Everyone rejoices as the Ranks team arrives. Jean says, "Lena is the star of the Rank S Holy Sword team." Light speaks with Lena, but she replies, "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." Light feels disheartened that Lena doesn't remember him. End of the episode, the narrator concludes. Stay tuned for the next episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated.
Our episode begins today with the return of the S-Rank team from their mission abroad. Everyone is astonished by their physical transformations and newfound strength. At that moment, Light tries to call out to Lena, his former friend, but is met with a shocking surprise. Lena looks at him and says, "I think you have me confused with someone else," indicating that she doesn't recognize him at all. This revelation leaves Light deeply shocked. Later, the scene shifts to Light being taken home by Ayla for a meal, but his sadness is evident as he prepares to eat. He is startled by Lena's sudden arrival. This means she had pretended not to recognize him earlier for some reason. Just as he is about to say her name, she places her hand over his mouth and says, "Be quiet." She then asks him why he was at the guild. He explains that he and Ayla have become adventurers, a long story he promises to tell her later. He also reveals his second skill, the cutting sword, and assures her that he will catch up to her soon. Light then asks her about the Holy Sword team, to which she replies, "Light, it's not as great as it seems. I'm forced to work with people the Saintess has chosen. I can't deny the pay is good, but the overall atmosphere is terrible. That's why I advise you to stay away from the Holy Sword team. It's also the reason I pretended not to know you." She goes on to share her story. 2 months ago, the team was battling some serpents. They used fire to defeat them, but the strong winds caused the flames to spread to nearby farmlands. While Lena was deeply upset, the others dismissed her concerns, saying, "So what? The important thing is that we completed the job. Those aren't our farms. Lena, however, was devastated, saying, "This isn't right. These farmers are poor people who rely on these lands to survive. You're burning crops that take over 4 months to grow." She went to the Saintess to report what happened, but she found that the Saintess shared the same mindset as the others, saying, "That doesn't concern us. What matters is that we defeated the Great Serpent, and that's what history will remember." Returning to the present, Light tells Lena, "If you're unhappy with your team, why don't you join us?" Lena begins to cry and leaves without a word, leaving Light unsure of her fate. Later that evening, at the Adventurers Guild, the Guild Girl rewards Isla and Light with 10,000 gold coins for defeating the Savage Ghoul. Light accepts the money but remains deeply affected by Lena's behavior and her apparent distress. He is extremely worried about her. Episode question: why doesn't Lena want to join Light, even though she clearly wants to be with him? Please pause the video and leave your comments below. The next scene shifts to the leader, Grouse, surrounded by women. He is boasting about his skills and strength, recounting his monster hunting exploits. A guild girl approaches him and mentions complaints from local residents about their use of fire, which has burned homes and crops. Grouse dismissively replies, "That didn't happen. Tell them to leave immediately. We defeated the monster they requested us to, and sometimes small sacrifices are necessary." At that moment, Light barges in without greeting Grouse and confronts him directly, saying, "Let Lena leave your team. I overheard this conversation, and I know she would never approve of this." Grouse mocks him, saying, "You must be one of Lena's obsessed admirers." Angered, Light retorts, "That's none of your business. Lena was crying, she must be suffering." Grouse calls his guards, who quickly restrain Light and throw him out. Some bystanders advise Light not to provoke Grouse, as angering him will not please the Saintess. The scene transitions to the Holy Sword team. The team was granted their skills by the Saints, so today they aim to earn more money. They were fortunate to possess such amazing abilities. Lena, however, didn't respond to them as her mind was occupied with Light and his words. He had told her that if she wasn't happy in her current group, why not join them? Lena decided to speak to Grouse, and indeed, she told him that she wanted to leave the Sacred Sword. In response, Surim said that they were the greatest group ever, but Lena was unmoved by his words. She felt she could no longer continue and wanted to become an adventurer, following her own beliefs. She left the group and headed toward the door to leave. Furious at her defiance, Grouse rushed toward her. Lena attempted to draw her sword, but Grouse told her that even with her amazing Saint Sword skills, she couldn't touch him. He struck her across the face and forced her to stay, saying she made people happy and that they would save the world together until their dying day. Later, the Sacred Sword team left the guild with people around them cheering for their strength. Suddenly, they found Light standing before them. Upon seeing him, Grouse asked what he was doing there. Light replied that he was there for his friend Lena. Grouse mocked his words and ordered him to leave since they were going to hunt monsters. Light ignored him and called out to Lena, asking her to join their beginner team. He reminded her of their promise when they were young to become adventurers together. This triggered Lena's memories of their childhood, but she replied that she was now a member of the Sacred Sword and didn't want to leave. Hearing this, Light challenged Grouse to a duel. If Light won, he could take Lena with him. If Grouse won, she would stay with them. Grouse added another condition. If Light lost, he would be banned from the Adventurers Guild forever and would never set foot in the Holy City again. Lena tried to stop Light, pleading with him not to agree as he had worked so hard to become an adventurer. At that moment, Ayla used her powers and discovered that Grouse possessed a speed skill that allowed him to close the gap between himself and his opponents instantly with supernatural speed. Light responded by claiming he had 2 skills, Fruit Master and Sword Ruler. Grouse didn't believe him, thinking it impossible to possess 2 skills. Grouse attacked Light, but Light managed to block all his strikes. Suddenly, Grouse appeared behind Light, trying to strike him. However, he kept vanishing and reappearing in front of him with incredible speed, making it impossible for Light to counter. Grouse declared that this land was his domain and that no sword could touch him as his power was of such rank. Light decided to charge at Grouse to kill him, but Grouse blocked the attack with such strength that Light's sword broke. Believing he had won, Grouse decided to spare Light's life on the condition that Lena vowed to obey him for the rest of her life. Light rose to his feet and declared that he would be the one to win. Lena expressed her confidence in him, saying she always believed in him and wanted him to emerge victorious. Light prepared to continue the fight, but realized his sword was broken. So he took a broom from a man nearby and readied himself to fight using it. Light takes the broom from the man, angering Grouse, who shouts, "You're mocking me. I'm completely serious. Enough of this nonsense, you'll regret this even after your death." Light, in his mind, thinks, "Imagine the broom as a sword with a steel handle and a long, sharp blade. My swings are faster than his. I'm lagging behind because I'm watching his movements. I'll strike based on what I feel, not what I see." Light charges at Grouse with the broom, delivering a powerful blow to his face that knocks Grouse to the ground. Everyone is astonished by Light's strength, and Light feels triumphant. He then turns to the Sacred Sword members, saying, "If you mess with us, you'll meet the same fate." Speaking to Lena, he says, "You're free now. You can work as an adventurer on your own or join a team if you want. But I want you to join Ayla and me." Lena agrees and leaves with them. Later, we see Light and Ayla in a field. Light says, "It's been a week since my duel with Grouse." Lena calls out to them, and Light replies, "From today onward, I'll accompany you. Since our base of operations is in the Holy City, Lena allowed us to stay at her house. I wish I could say I'm living a comfortable, worry-free life as an adventurer." Lena speaks to a young boy, asking him, "Can I help you?" He replies, "The Saint is summoning you and wants to discuss your departure from the Sacred Sword." Lena responds, "It doesn't matter how many times you ask me, my answer won't change. I won't meet her." The boy tells her, "You won't receive the same treatment you did when you were in an S-rank team." Later, they go to the guild, where a staff member presents them with tasks, eliminating demonic rats in the tunnels, repairing roofs in the slums, and finding a lost cat. Lena replies, "Yes, we'll take them all." The townspeople are overjoyed to see Lena and meet her in a secluded area. She tells them, "You can rely on us. We'll split up and get to work." Light and Lena use their powers to accomplish various tasks. At night, Light says, "The three of us earned gold after today's efforts." Lena responds, "I wanted to use my skills to help those in need. I'm happy I left the Sacred Sword to help people. Even if we're doing small tasks like today, this isn't the kind of adventurer I wanted to become. Surely you want to do bigger things." Light tells her, "I enjoyed today and learned a lot thanks to you. We should hold a founding ceremony. It's a tradition adventurers follow to make a vow or wish for success in their journeys. I've also thought of a name for our team, Luxuria, meaning incomplete light. I'll become an adventurer who leaves a mark on history." Lena says, "I'll become an adventurer who fights for the people." Together, they declare, "As Luxuria, we swear by the stars to uphold this vow." The scene shifts to the boy speaking with the Saint. He says, "Are you really giving that mission to those three? Maybe Lena will survive, but the other two are doomed?" The Saint replies, "Yes, I've already arranged it with the trash. We'll pretend nothing bad will happen. Let's see if this so-called a priori, their leader, can truly change the future." And that's how today's episode of the Anime ends. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content.
Denoski is an ordinary employee who is summoned to another world by the Demon King. The Demon King offers him the position of the leader of the demon army. Our first episode of 2025 begins with a giant figure discussing the four great generals of the Demon King's army. The first is a girl with fiery red hair, Almandra. The second is the wielder of the ultimate storm magic, Sylphid. The third is the Knight of the Earth Barrier, Genum. And finally, the fourth is an outsider who appears to be human, known as Uchimera Denoski. This is Uchimera Denoski, an ordinary office worker. After a long and arduous job search, he was finally hired. He was very enthusiastic, worked diligently, and performed his tasks flawlessly. However, his colleagues steadily climbed the career ladder, while his superiors never acknowledged his efforts. One day, he was transferred abroad to a distant country, which was incredibly challenging for him. He took full responsibility for his duties but couldn't achieve much due to limited resources. Nonetheless, he worked tirelessly, cleaning and organizing the place by himself. Over time, people began to rally around him, and things started to improve. But just as everything seemed to be going well, he received a phone call informing him that he would be relocated to another country. Feeling utterly defeated, he wandered the city streets, talking to himself, wondering why such things kept happening to him. Then he was suddenly transported to an entirely different world. Now, this was his reality. Denoski, bewildered, exclaimed, "Where am I? What's going on? Who are these strange people?" At that moment, a leader approached him and said, "I want you to serve one of the four generals in the Demon King's army." Denoski was shocked and thought to himself, "Why would someone choose a lowly employee like me to serve in the Demon King's army?" The Demon King then explained his reasoning, recounting how Denoski's success abroad learning a new language, teaching the locals, and establishing local operations made him the perfect candidate to join the great Demon King's army. Denoski had a deep internal dialogue, saying, "It's important to be acknowledged for my achievements, but how can I work with demons?" Eventually, he decided to stay and serve. The leader then offered him full benefits, valuable information, and a handsome salary, equivalent to the position of a manager in his former world. He was promised his own office and the freedom to select his staff. Overjoyed, Denosk listened as the king gave him one final choice. He could refuse and return to his old world. Denosk thought deeply for a moment and then replied, "O great demon king, no one has ever recognized me before, despite how hard I worked. So why would you need trash like me? Your offer is wonderful, but you're the one losing out in the end." The demon king, enraged, declared, "Do not pay attention to fools who failed to see your worth. I have witnessed your efforts and know your potential. That is why I summoned you here to help you unlock it." Almandra intervened, saying, "This human is pathetic. He cannot possibly serve as one of the 4 generals in the demon king's army." The other 3 agreed, doubting his ability to handle the task. The demon king responded, "Very well, we will test him." Denoski was left speechless. Almandra attempted to kick him forcefully, but the demon king stopped her, cautioning her to wait. "He is not strong," the king said. "He is barely conscious and has no magical energy." This girl then explains that the demon army is composed of evil spirits, where demons and demi-humans stand against one another for dominance. She adds that a powerless human wouldn't last more than a minute before being devoured by one of them. She also mentions the demons who incite rebellion, but Almandra cuts her off, saying that demi-humans always choose to fight without reason. The girl retorts that this is exactly the kind of opposition she was referring to. A heated argument ensues between Almandra and the girl, but the demon king pays them no mind and continues his conversation with Uchimura. The demon king tells Uchimura that he lacks a strong body or any special powers, but what he values in him is his intelligence. Uchimura replies, saying he is incapable of doing anything. He notes that there's no way he could survive Almandra's death kick. It would tear his arm off, and he'd end up like a statue. The demon king calms him, explaining that he didn't summon him here for his physical strength. Instead, he has chosen a perfect test for him. The demon king explains that the demon army is seeking to ally with the lands of the Rampage Kingdom, which is home to various races such as salamanders and werewolves. However, negotiations with the Minotaurs have been unsuccessful. His test for Yukimura is to negotiate with the Minotaurs and gain their trust, making them a part of the demon army. If Yukishimura wants details, he can ask Almandra. Reluctantly agreeing to the test, Ukimura sets out with Almandra to meet the Minotaurs. Despite being terrified, he accepts this mission, thinking to himself that everyone is right. He's just a useless employee, with no magic or special abilities. Still, he's determined to try because he has always wanted to work for a leader who truly needs him. When they reach the Minotaur leader's chamber, Ukimura is intimidated by the massive door. Almandra tells him that he will understand why when he sees the leader. She warns him that Minotaurs are inherently aggressive and advises him not to let the leader harm him. When Almandra opens the door, Ukimura is shocked by the enormous size of the Minotaur. He hesitates to meet him, but Almandra insists they have no other choice and promises to assist him. Almandra enters the room to speak with the Minotaur, but he refuses to converse with her. Enraged, she yells at him, demanding he talks to her, but he continues to ignore her. Frustrated, she exits the room and Uchimura asks her what happened. She explains that the Minotaur initially spoke to her, but when she mentioned conditions for joining their forces, he stopped listening and ended the negotiations. She got so angry that she started shouting at him, prompting the Minotaur to retaliate by dumping a ton of garbage all over the chamber. She then tells Uchimura that it's now his responsibility to handle the situation. Terrified, Uchimura has no idea how to deal with the massive Minotaur, especially since communication seems impossible. Later, we see Ukimura sitting in a tavern, sipping his favorite drink, while contemplating his predicament. He recalls how his former bosses always dismissed him, saying no to him every time. Determined not to repeat his past failures, Uchimura resolves to find a way to earn the Minotaur's trust and succeed in his mission. Uchimura, preparing himself, says, "I will go and fix everything from the beginning." Meanwhile, we see Almandra talking to the Demon King, saying his position remains shaky. Not to mention that this man has just arrived in this world. Later, Uchimura speaks to Almandra, saying, "I want to have a proper conversation with Lord Terius." She replies, "Impossible. He's as arrogant and stubborn as ever." Uchimura counters, "You give up too quickly. His size doesn't matter when it comes to negotiation. There's a clear knowledge gap between us, and that's why negotiations aren't progressing. If you want to bridge that gap, you need to connect with him through eye contact and work hard to build trust. I will make sure the negotiations succeed." Almandra, thinking to herself, observes, he's lost that pitiful look that used to cloud his face. Uchimura then enters Lord Terius's chamber, with Almandra following shortly after to check on him. She is shocked to find the room in complete disarray, turned into a pile of garbage. It seems Uchimura hasn't reached an agreement with him. When Uchimura leaves the room, Almandra asks him angrily, "How dare you tarnish the sanctity of our fortress? Where is Lord Terius?" Uchimura calmly responds, he is with the Demon King, finalizing the details of the merger agreement. After yesterday's negotiations, the Minotaurs have decided to join the demon army. He agreed to our terms last night. Almandra, surprised, says, "I had so much trouble dealing with him." The two then head to the Demon King. Uchimura explains, "I always thought Terius refused to negotiate, but it seems the negotiations went smoothly after all. This reminded me of my past experiences. There was a time when officials from a foreign company constantly said no during negotiations. No matter what I did, they wouldn't change their minds. I was on the verge of giving up, but suddenly they changed their perspective. They saw passion and discussion as positives and were keen to talk to me. As for the Minotaurs, their fundamental rule is to always bring straw with them when they travel. They're too large to ruin someone else's bed. Unfortunately, their straw was taken away, leaving them with no choice but to sleep on the ground. This inability to express himself made Terius seem angry because he was extremely worried. Almandra, reflecting, says, "It was my attitude that caused this. I should have considered his perspective more thoughtfully." Terius then apologizes to both of them, saying, "We are both responsible for this. I didn't realize how rude I was being." He thanks Uchimura for resolving everything and helping him understand. Afterward, Lord Terius bids them farewell as he departs. Almandra, still in disbelief, says, "I can't believe you noticed that." The Demon King then addresses the group, saying, "The ability to notice things that others usually miss, that is Uchimura's strength. You have successfully passed the test. This marks the official start of your position among the Big Four. You've overcome a tough challenge, so I doubt anyone will raise objections." He gives Uchimura a bracelet, saying, "This is the symbol of your rank as one of the Big Four. Don't worry about being new. Work in your own way, based on your ideas." Uchimura thanks him, and Almandra collaborates with him to place the alliance markers together. She smiles and says, "We accept you as one of us. I'll need your help with some upcoming negotiations." The Demon King concludes, "Uchimura is the light that spreads throughout the army." And so, today's episode of the anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated.
Our episode begins with our hero, Uchimura, heading towards Sylphide to greet her, as he is required to show respect to all the generals since he has recently been appointed as one of the four greats. He knocks on the door, and a young woman answers. He asks her about Sylphide, and she questions who he is. He tells her that he has been recently appointed as one of the four greats. The woman introduces herself as Belinda, the head sorcerer of the storm. She informs him that Sylphide has been absent for a while and promises to inform her of his arrival before closing the door. Then Almandra appears and tells him that the king is waiting to assign him a new mission. They go together to the king, who tells them that the mission involves negotiations for an alliance with the Gilan clan. They must cooperate with the semi-human clans surrounding the area to increase their strength, especially the Gilan clan, whose influence is vast. They have a powerful army and serve as leaders to the neighboring tribes. The king believes that an alliance with them would be highly beneficial, which is why he chose Uchimura for this difficult task, as he is confident no one else could succeed. Uchimura agrees and leaves with Almandra, who informs him that she will accompany him on this mission so they can work together as part of the Four Greats. Uchimura suggests they meet with Noam, the leader of the semi-human forces in the Gilan tribe, to gather more information about them. Almandra tells him she will not go as she needs to check on the wagon, so Uchimura agrees and leaves. The scene then shifts to Jome, who is training in the sword-fighting arena. When the training session ends, she approaches Uchimura and asks him about the purpose of his visit. He asks about the Gilan clan, and she tells him the tribe's leader is named Augur, a tough and courageous opponent. Suddenly, Almandra appears behind Uchimura, looking very angry. She informs him that she has finished preparing the wagon and came because she was worried about him. Noam tells her to take her business elsewhere, which makes Almandra furious at being addressed in such a manner. Uchimura is confused about the situation. The scene transitions to the Gilan clan's leader's palace, where Uchimura and Almandra are waiting outside, waiting for permission to enter. Uchimura tries to calm Almandra, reminding her that keeping the opponent waiting is a common tactic to make them nervous, and it's best to remain calm. A woman then arrives and tells them to follow her inside. As they enter the palace, Uchimura looks around and Olmandra warns him to be cautious as the Gilan clan is incredibly strong with an army comparable to the demon army. The most challenging part is that their leader is a formidable opponent. They enter the leader's room, and when Olmandra tries to speak, the leader tells her to be quiet as he does not like talking to women. He mocks them and informs them that he will give them what they want, but only if they bring him the head of the Demon King. Olmandra tries to control her anger to avoid jeopardizing the mission, and Uchimura tells the leader to give them some time to think and they will return with a response. They leave, and once outside, Olmandra is furious and wants to kill the leader. Uchimura tries to calm her down, explaining that the leader's goal is to provoke them and ruin the negotiations. This leader has no intention of negotiating, but as a clan leader, he wants to avoid unnecessary conflicts, which is why he deliberately says things to irritate them. If the negotiations fail, the Demon King will blame them. Olmandra asks him if he wasn't angered by the leader's words. Uchimura responds to Olmandra, saying that he is indeed angry, but expressing their anger immediately would put their master, the Demon King, in a very bad position. They can use this as an excuse to form alliances with other nations, possibly even prompting attacks on the Demon King's army. If there is no sign of negotiations, they should temporarily withdraw, as the pressure will weaken their relationship with the Gilan clan. Olmandra then asks him what they will do in the meantime, as Ogre does not seem interested in negotiating with them. At that point, Ogre's daughter Ololo appears and asks to speak with them. Olmandra is surprised, thinking she is there to eliminate them, but Ololo tells them that she wants them to overthrow her father and take his throne. The shock is evident on their faces. She then takes them to the castle's food cellar, where she explains that while the Gilan tribe once had great influence over the neighboring clans, they are currently facing financial difficulties and struggling just to find food. Uchimura is not surprised, as the soldiers' equipment looked worn out, and the castle felt dark and lifeless, an atmosphere common in large companies facing decline. The centralized leadership under one individual is fast, but struggles to adapt efficiently and correct its course, which is exactly what's happening here. Ololo agrees with him and tells him that the only way to rebuild the decaying tribe is to rely on the Demon King's army, but her father refuses to listen to her. On top of that, he is very ill and they've kept his condition a secret, delaying their meeting with him. He pretends to be strong, but he is no longer capable, and if he were to die suddenly, it would create chaos within the clan. Uchimura advises her to calm down, pointing out that her actions are reckless, and that members of an organization should not speak so openly about internal matters. As the leader's daughter, she needs to be more cautious. Ololo realizes that Uchimura is very kind for pointing out her mistakes, and then surprises them by asking him to marry her and become the new leader of the tribe, as they need someone like him to save them. Uchimura refuses, but Ololo continues to plead with him. Olmandra then tells her to calm down so they can think things through. That night, Uchimura reflects on Augur, who has no intention of negotiating, and his impulsive daughter. The task of merging with the Gilan clan seems difficult, and he is unsure of what to do. However, he decides to find a solution. The next morning, Olmandra rushes to Uchimura, having heard that he has come up with a solution. She expects that they will head to the Gilan clan, but Uchimura informs her that they will be going to a different location. He reveals that, if things go as planned, the Gilan clan's leader himself may invite them to negotiate. A week later, Uchimura and Olmandra go to Augur. Uchimura speaks first, saying, "You summon us suddenly?" Augur responds angrily, "Don't pretend to be ignorant. Why did the other races join the Demon King's army?" Uchimura recalls when he was in the wagon and Olmandra had asked him which races they would attract first. Uchimura responds, "Yes, they are facing difficulties, just as I thought. The Gilan clan used to support them, but they no longer do. We will start by claiming the lands neighboring the Gilan tribe, and I'll call it the Stronghold Operation for large companies." Olmandra then comments, "I thought as much, but I didn't expect him to call us himself." Uchimura had used this strategy a long time ago when I was trying to secure a contract with a big company. When big companies approach from the front doors, they will push you out and reject you. So I went to small and medium-sized companies, offering them our products and asking them to buy them. Big companies would purchase them themselves, saying they couldn't allow smaller companies to have the new products while they had the old ones. The semi-humans neighboring the Demon King's army, the proud leader, didn't let it slide easily. I succeeded in the first step. Uchimura speaks to Augur, explaining, "They were struggling to meet their needs. Joining the Demon King's army ensures a minimum standard of living." Augur, angry, responds, "I didn't ask about this. I rule over this area, the Gilan clan, and I will not allow it." Uchimura, losing his calm, risks the negotiations. He continues, "But this annexation was not done alone. The Gilan tribe also took part. Ololo took charge of organizing negotiations with the neighboring clans. Being your daughter, she has the status and the relationships to negotiate smoothly. Augur is surprised and asks, why would Ololo do that? Uchimura explains, Ololo is the future of the semi-humans. We have no way out of this predicament except by relying on the support of the Demon King's army. You are the strongest father and the one they look up to. Remember when she was a child and you were her hero? But now her father, Augur the Invincible, is an old sick man. It's time to unite. Uchimura then proposes, what if we form an alliance together, a partnership of equals? The Demon King allows for the independence of the other party, but the terms of the agreement need to be carefully considered. Augur thinks for a moment and says, I must take that into account. I will think about it. I will give you my answer, so wait for me. Uchimura thanks him for his understanding, acknowledging that Augur needs time to make a decision. Augur reflects to himself, Ololo has grown and times are changing. A few days later, Omander rushes to Uchimura saying that Augur has called to finalize the agreement. Uchimura responds, I'm very pleased, but the Demon King has asked me to assign a direct subordinate. I honestly don't know who to choose. A human like me can't distinguish who is best for handling the semi-humans or demons. Omander smiles and tells him, trust your instincts in such matters. Uchimura, flattered, responds, I would choose you. Omander beams with happiness. At that moment, Ololo enters and greets them, saying, it's been a long time. I've been sent here to represent the Gilan tribe at our alliance with the Demon King's army. Since that time, my father has started delegating work to other members of the tribe. It seems, thanks to you, the entire Gilan tribe is changing. Tell me if there's anything I can do for you. Uchimura replies, if you don't mind, would you be interested in working with me? Ololo agrees, I look forward to working with you. Uchimura reflects on how the Demon King's army has expanded because of these negotiations, but warns, every gain comes with risk. We must remain vigilant. The episode ends here. The upcoming episodes will showcase more developments. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated with everything new. Prince Oscar got cursed, making it impossible for any woman to have his child. He turns to a witch named Tainasha for help and decides he wants to marry her so they can work together to break the curse. The episode begins in the Tuldar Empire, where we see Oscar and his companions heading to visit King Callist of Tuldar. Oscar informs the king about a witch who cursed him, preventing him from having any heirs. Without a way to break the curse, the royal bloodline of Phrasis will end with him. The king replies that their nation is very advanced in magic, but even they cannot hope to rival a witch of her caliber. She is one of the 3 strongest witches in the world. The king then takes Oscar to a certain place in the castle with a large gate. No one has crossed these doors in ages, and this is the farthest he can accompany Oscar to reach the witch. Oscar asks why, and the king responds that no one has been allowed entry. That is all he can say. The large door is then opened and Oscar steps through. When his companions attempt to follow, they are blocked as if an invisible barrier separates them. The king warns Oscar to be very careful as he has no idea what lies ahead. Oscar walks a little further into this mysterious place and encounters a girl who is a girl in one of the 12 spirits along with Stig. Upon seeing Oscar, the dragon shrinks itself and perches on his shoulder. The guardian opens a magical gate and tells Oscar that beyond it lies the only ultimate treasure in existence. Oscar passes through the gate and continues walking until he finds a sleeping girl. She awakens and embraces him, though he does not recognize her. He asks for her name and she replies, Natasha. She tells him that she knows him and even knows his name. Oscar asks what she is doing in such a place, and she explains that she has been in a magical slumber. Seeing him here must mean it is the year 526 in the Phrasis calendar. She then asks if he is married, to which he replies that he is not. Before he can continue, Natasha's assistant, Mila, enters to check on her. Natasha rises from her bed, introducing Mila as her practical servant, but also considering her a friend. She then comments on the dragon perched on Oscar's shoulder, saying it can assist him with anything. Oscar takes Natasha back to the king and tells him he has found her in this place. Oscar declares that he is offering her to Phrasis to be his bride, meaning she can bear his child and take on the witch's curse. The king refuses, stating that Natasha must become their queen instead. Natasha overhears this and is shocked because the royal family's magical power is waning, and this is a critical period for them. She replies that a ruler does not need magical strength. She will break Oscar's curse, otherwise there would be no point in his coming here. Hearing her words, the king decides to give her 6 months but pleads with her to understand her position. His wish is for her to marry his son. Later, Oscar talks to Natasha, thanking her for helping him lift the curse. However, before doing so, he encourages her to spend her time freely and enjoy herself here before ascending the throne. She replies that she does not intend to become queen but cannot ignore Tuldar's pleas. Oscar then asks her to call him by his name, hinting that they might get married. Natasha blushes and hugs him, saying that when she was a child, someone did so much for her, far beyond what she could ever ask. She wants to do everything she can for that person. It becomes clear she is talking about Oscar, who tells her he will wait for her and ensure she finds happiness with him. Tanasha sits with Mila, who asks her if she truly wants to marry the bearer of Acacia. Mila adds that if the king of Toldar is hindering her, she could kill him. Tanasha rejects the idea, saying she is content to have met Oscar again, regardless of marriage. Mila then asks why she came here, and Tanasha replies that it was to lift Oscar's curse. Later, Tanasha visits Oscar and Osur, where Oscar mentions that the maids are worried because she skipped lunch. She responds that she has been too busy with his case. Oscar tells her not to neglect her health, as it is more important than any obligations. Tanasha insists that while she may not have been the one to cast the curse, breaking it is indeed her duty. Oscar realizes she was raised with royal values. Suddenly, they hear a loud crash outside the palace. Investigating, Oscar finds the witch Leda, a mage from Phrasis, hovering in the sky alongside Tanasha. Oscar calls out to Tanasha, asking her to come down. She reassures him that she will be fine and tells him to return inside as the area is dangerous. Tanasha then confronts Leda, accusing her of practicing forbidden magic here and asking if she is a descendant of Malkado, a deranged murderer. Oscar calls for Nark, who grows in size and prepares to assist. Oscar commands Nark to obey him as his master. However, Tanasha warns Nark to stay put. Ignoring her, Nark flies toward the sky. Tanasha uses her magic, attacking the dragon while chanting drops separate life and death. Rejecting breath is rejecting life itself. She strikes and defeats Nark, causing Leda to fall to the ground. Leda asks Tanasha if she is a witch. Tanasha replies, "Not exactly, though your guess isn't far off." A monster attacks Nark, but Nark counters the blows and Oscar kills the creature. Oscar praises Nark for the kill, then turns to Tanasha, saying, "It seems we need to restrain you rather than protect you." Tanasha remains silent. Later, Oscar speaks with his friend, asking how dangerous is this woman whom only one person can reach. Are all the royal members of Toldar like her? The queen of witch hunters, the queen of Toldar, healed the witch sent after her by Terry 400 years ago. Wasn't her name Tanasha? And have there been any confessions from the wyvern summoner? His friend replies that she has said nothing. Oscar comments it's frightening that we don't understand her motives. The scene shifts to Tanasha speaking with Mila. She says, an assassin following Malkado's teachings has appeared, a mage who violated many taboos, such as contracting with wyverns. It's likely they've passed on knowledge of other forbidden curses. Notify me if you see anyone controlling wyverns. Mila agrees, mentioning the lunatic who survived execution by Tanasha's hand 400 years ago. Mila vanishes after agreeing with Tanasha's concerns. Later, another girl speaks to Tanasha, suggesting she take the chance to explore the city. However, she says she cannot join Tanasha on a tour because she has been assigned a patrol mission at the last moment. She mentions someone scattering animal blood in the empty alleys and that the culprit is still at large. Although they hope it's just a prank, mages like her have been called in for safety. Tanasha responds, if forbidden curses are involved, it's no joke. The festival seems fun, but I'll stay here in the palace. I wouldn't want to anger anyone by leaving without permission. Oscar later asks Tanasha if she wants to visit the city, and they go together. Tanasha is overjoyed by the outing. Oscar asks if there is anywhere she wants to go. Tanasha takes Oscar to the area where the animal blood was scattered. She explains, I heard they haven't caught the culprit behind the scattered animal blood. I wanted to see if they left any traces, but there doesn't seem to be anything here. Tanasha marvels at the beauty of the city. She says, this is the first time I've seen the city up close. I truly enjoyed tonight, but I can't rest easy without knowing their intentions. Oscar responds, checking the alley was pointless. Suddenly, someone attacks them, but Oscar notices in time, and both he and Tanasha dive to the ground. Oscar says, it must be the person responsible for the animal blood. Guards the tower in the southern area, there's a sorcerer there, so stay alert. Tanasha adds, it won't last long, but I cast a teleportation preventing spell with automatic tracking. We can catch him. She continues, Oscar, this isn't enough. You need to pursue him and eliminate him permanently. Afterward, they return to the palace. Tanasha asks Oscar, do you hate me? He replies, I hate that you hide everything and act alone. I don't know if I should trust you or not. I feel like I'm just watching from the sidelines. If you want me not to hate you, be more open with me. Tanasha responds, there's nothing I've tried to hide. My real name is Tanasha. Oscar is shocked and says, you're the witch slayer queen herself? She nods and replies, yes, it seems that's what some people call me. Oscar says, that explains a lot, but stop rushing into danger on your own. You can rely on me. Don't look at me like that. I don't like it. I feel like you're thinking of someone else when you look at me. When you look at me, see me as I am. Tanasha pauses and says, when I was a child, someone saved my life. But to save me, they gave up everything they had, their past and their future. I could never repay their kindness. I never realized I was looking at you with that same gaze. In the end, I am still the same as before. I haven't grown stronger at all. Oscar replies, I understand your situation, but thinking about the past won't help. They saved your life, so live it to the fullest. Hold your head high and face the future. Do whatever you want. Tanasha responds, I will never meet the person I once knew. The one beside them is me, but also a different woman. Neither of us exists anymore in history, but right now both of us are here. This is an entirely new story. And that's how today's episode of the anime ends. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated.